What's up guys, Mike here, the Detroit Borg, and today we're taking a look at the iPhone 6s and the 6s Plus. So we're going to compare them side by side to see how they differ. We're also going to look at all four colors. So there's a new color this year, rose gold, which joins space gray, silver, and gold from last year. So the 6s and 6s Plus look a lot like the previous phones, but really they're major redesigns, featuring a lot of new technologies and a new stronger frame. But before we talk about what's new, let's get to the unboxing here. Now unlike last year, the boxes this year are much more colorful. No more white anonymous boxes. We can see on the front the live wallpaper feature, which I'll demonstrate later in this video. Along the sides, we'll see our iPhone 6s or 6s Plus branding, again matched to the color of the phone you chose. Same with the Apple logo at the top and bottom of the boxes. On the back, you'll find your specs or capacity. So in this case, I have everything from 16 gig to 128 gigs. Now these phones are available from 16, 64, and 128 gigs, but I would not recommend 16 gigs. That's going to be really tight for most people, especially if you record in 4K or use the live photo feature. So getting to the unboxing, first let's start with the 6s Plus. First thing we need to do here is peel off all the plastic surrounding the box. Lifting the lids, we'll find our phones wrapped in plastic right on the top. Of course, we have all of our colors. Only space gray is available with a black bezel, which I personally prefer. And of course, rose gold, gold, and silver come with a nice bright white bezel. Next up, we have to peel the clear wrappers off the phones, which wrap the back and front. Now, before we take a close look at these, let's set them aside so we can take a look at the accessories, which are the same for all of them. Of course, first thing we have here is a small literature packet, which includes a quick start guide as well as regulatory, safety, and warranty information. And we also get a set of Apple stickers, which are still white, so they're not color matched like they were with the new MacBooks. Down below that, we'll find all of our standard Apple accessories, including a set of earpods, which also includes a carrying case, so you can neatly wrap this up if you want to carry it that way. Of course, these earpods do include a remote control and microphone. Also included is our typical iPhone 5-watt power adapter. And lastly, we get a USB to Lightning cable to charge or sync our phone. Next up, let's move on to the smaller 6s. Basically the same process, just miniaturized here. So we have to remove the plastic to get into our boxes. Once we lift the lid, we can see all of our phones lined up, still wrapped in their plastic wrappers. So once we peel those off really easily, we have all of our phones ready to go. The accessories are basically the same. So again, we get a literature packet, which includes a quick start guide, regulatory information, and a set of Apple stickers, which incidentally are the same size as the ones that come with the 6s Plus. And below that, we'll find all of the exact same accessories: earpods, charger, and Lightning cable. Next up, let's take a close look at our new phones and talk about what's new. So in terms of what's new, it definitely isn't the design. It's very similar to the previous generation, if not the same. But in reality, this is a completely new phone. This now features a much stronger 7000 series aluminum frame, which is even thicker than the previous generation, which should cure bend gate. The cover glass has also been strengthened with a new dual ion exchange process, which Apple says makes it the strongest cover glass on the phone today. On the back, we'll find a new 12 megapixel iSight camera, which is finally capable of 4K video recording. Apple says that the sensor features a technology called deep trench isolation, which basically means that each pixel is better isolated from each other, so there's less crosstalk and interference, so we can get a higher resolution without noise. Returning once again back here is our microphone, as well as a dual tone LED flash. The camera once again protrudes here on the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus, but we do get a color matched ring which matches the body of the phone, which is a nice detail. On the front, we'll find a new 5 megapixel FaceTime HD camera, which is a big jump from the 1.2 megapixel camera we've had up to this point. Down below, we'll find our second generation Touch ID sensor, which Apple says is twice as fast as the previous generation, which again is covered in a sapphire crystal lens and surrounded with a metal ring, which is color matched to the body of the phone. This metal ring acts as a capacitive trigger for the Touch ID feature. At the bottom of the phone, we'll find our Lightning connector, speaker grill, headphone jack, as well as microphone. And again, everything is color matched here from the ring around the Lightning connector to the speaker grill. Along the right side, we'll find our volume controls along with the mute switch. And once again, the volume controls are sort of recessed with this polished finish, which looks really nice. Along the left side, in the same position for both sizes, we'll find our sleep-wake power button. And below that, we'll find our nano SIM tray. Now visually, it's actually pretty hard to tell the difference between the previous and the new generation unless you have a rose gold phone. But if you look closely at the back of the phone, you can see we have iPhone and the S indicator right below it. Also missing from the new phone is all the regulatory branding along the back. That has been relocated to the software. Once again, along the back, we have a mostly metal design with these antenna insulators framing the top and bottom. Now those antenna breaks are color matched to the phone. So for example, space gray, it's a darker gray. With silver, it's a lighter gray. And with gold and rose gold, it's white to match the the front bezel. Now toward the top, at the back of the phone, we'll find our NFC radio, which works with Touch ID and contactless payment. We also have faster LTE Advanced in this phone if your network supports it, and we have 23 LTE bands supported. Wi-Fi is twice as fast, now up to 866 megs theoretically. Now during the setup process, we're prompted to train one of our fingers for Touch ID, and with Touch ID 2, it's very quick. We're also prompted to train Siri to our voice, so when we say, "Hey Siri," it only wakes up with our voice and not somebody else's. So with both phones booted up, we can take a look at our display. So once again, we have a 4.7-inch and 5.5-inch Retina HD display. Same resolution as last year, 1334 by 750, good for 326 ppi for the 6S, and 1920 by 1080, so full 1080p for the 5.5-inch, which is good for 401 pixels per inch. So that is definitely the sharpest and best looking display here. But both displays look fantastic, and they're basically identical to the previous generation. We have an LCD IPS panel with dual domain pixels, which means we get really deep blacks, bright, vivid colors, fantastic off-axis viewing, as well as excellent daylight visibility. Both phones are powered by a new A9 processor, which is now much more powerful, and we get 2 gigs of RAM graduating from 1 gig of RAM. The new A9 processor also incorporates a new M9 motion coprocessor, which can actually listen for your voice even when the phone is not connected to a power source. So that means you can wake up Siri anytime you want just by saying, "Hey Siri," and we'll test that out later in this video. The hallmark new feature of the new phones is 3D Touch, formerly known as Force Touch. That basically means that the display is pressure sensitive, which adds a new layer of interaction with the touch display, which we'll explore in this video. That works in combination with a new Taptic engine built into the phone, which is kind of an elaborate vibration motor which provides some haptic feedback when using the 3D Touch technology. So let's take a look at how 3D Touch works throughout the system. Of course, there are countless uses for it. One of the most obvious ones is on the home screen with apps. So some of these apps have shortcuts using 3D Touch. So if I force touch or 3D Touch on an app icon, I get 2 additional options. So I can jump right to my reading list, show bookmarks, create a new private tab, or open a new tab. So again, it just jumps quickly to that action without opening up the app and then performing that action. Same thing with email here, so we can go to all inboxes VIP, we can jump to search or create a new message. We can also go to iMessage to jump to our recent contacts or create a new message. Same with the phone dialer, we can jump right to one of our recent contacts. We can also go up to reminders to create a new reminder. We can go up to calendars to create a new event. We can go to maps to quickly find directions home, mark our current location, send our location, or search for nearby. So if we go to search for nearby, we can search for locations such as restaurants, gas stations, and more. With photos, we can jump to our most recent photos, jump to our favorites, go to 1 year ago, or search our photo gallery. This also works with the camera app, so we can take a selfie, record video, record in slow-mo, or take a photo. Now there are 2 gestures in 3D Touch to be aware of, peek and pop. Under peek, you basically lightly press on an item to get a preview, release your finger, and it goes back to where you were. Now if we press harder, we can actually pop out that image and continue browsing through our photographs in this case. Now this works especially well in email. So if we lightly tap, we can get to our peek and preview the message, or swipe up to act upon it in a number of ways. We can also press harder to pop out the email and continue reading it. Now, third-party apps can support 3D Touch as well, but of course, at this time, very few of them do. But one of the apps that does is Instagram. So if we tap and hold on it, so we can jump to create a new post, view activity, search, or send a direct message. So if we go to New Post, we can take a photograph or choose one from our library. Instagram also supports peek and pop. So for example, if we're looking at our feed here, we can tap on one of these images to peek at it, or we can pop it out like so. So how do you manage your apps on the home screen now? Well, you just lightly press on an icon until they start to wiggle, and then you can move them around or delete them. 3D Touch also gives us a new way of accessing our recent apps. So we're all pretty familiar with the double tap on the home button to access our recent apps, but we can also swipe between apps using 3D Touch. So if we press along the edge here and swipe, we can jump to one of our previous apps. Now, one of my favorite uses for 3D Touch is previewing links within a website. So for example, I'm looking at an article here. So if I peek at a link here, I can actually look at the article before I decide to open it up. So if I don't want to open that up, I'll just dismiss it by releasing it. I can also just swipe up on the article to act upon it, so I can create a new tab, add it to my reading list, or copy it. This also works in iMessage. So if I want to peek at a link within an iMessage, I can look at it, swipe up to act upon it, or I can just tap to dismiss it. Now, there are countless other ways this can be used. So for example, you can peek at your text message conversations or pop it out. We can also finally command Siri wirelessly, so we no longer need to be plugged into power in order for the phone to listen for the Hey Siri command. And Hey Siri is finally programmed to my voice, so only I can command it. Hey Siri, what's the weather like tomorrow in Rochester Hills?
It will be cloudy tomorrow.
Now I can also do this from a locked state and from across the room. It's pretty responsive. Hey Siri. How tall is the new World Trade Center?
One World Trade Center is 1,792 feet tall.
Now, like the previous generation, the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus feature reachability. So you just double tap, not double press, the home button to bring things down to a more thumb reachable level. So this works across apps as well. So you can just double tap on an app to get it into a more comfortable position. So you can see it comes down farther with the 6s Plus than the regular 6s. Also, like last year, the 6s Plus has landscape orientation for the home screen, and some of the apps have been formatted for landscape view. So for the Mail app, I can tap on the message here and read the message on the right side while still viewing my list on the left side. That's not the case for the 6s, which means I have to jump back and forth between my emails. The 6s Plus also has an expanded keyboard with a lot of tools on the left-hand and right-hand side. Checking out our camera app, it is a pretty familiar interface, so we can swipe between our available modes, which includes panorama, square, photo, video, slow-mo, and time-lapse. In terms of photo mode, we do have a new feature here called Live Photo, which you can toggle on and off. So you get a little indicator just beside the photograph or above the photograph, depending on your orientation here. So Live Photograph basically records or buffers 1.5 seconds before and after you take a photograph and adds that information to the photograph while retaining the original still photograph. So again, I can take a photograph here with live mode, and then if I go to the photograph, tap and hold on it. So again, I can take a photograph here with... So we get about a 3-second video clip. It's still a photograph, so you can see this is the still image from that live photo, but you get some additional information here that allows you to sort of animate and listen to the photograph. Now you can modify this here, so if we go up to edit, you can actually turn off live photo if you don't want it at all. So that means when you go to your gallery here, if you press and hold on it, you won't get that live photo feature. And of course, I can restore live photo if I want. Now you do have to keep in mind that a live photo does double the size of the photograph, so you may want to turn this on and off if you're running low on storage. Now one of the cool aspects of live photos is that if you take a live photo and browse through your photo gallery, they'll animate for you as you swipe through them. You can tap and hold to listen to the audio and see the entire clip if you want. Live photo can also be applied to wallpaper. So if we go to our wallpaper settings here, choose a new wallpaper, we'll find a new category for live wallpaper. So we get a whole set of live wallpapers that emulate the artwork that's also on the boxes of the phones, but we also get a few others here. So I'm just going to select one of them. Let's go ahead and select this one. So now if we go to the lock screen, tap and hold on it, we get this little animation. Same with one of the beta fish animations here. So if you tap and hold, it animates for you. This also means you can use a live photograph that you've taken for a wallpaper. So all you have to do is go to wallpaper for this photograph. And now if we go to lock screen here, again, it animates for us. Next up, let's take a look at the front-facing FaceTime HD camera, which has a flash built in. Now, it's not a dedicated LED flash. They're calling it a Retina HD True Tone flash. So basically, they're using the backlight of the display to illuminate your shot. So right now, you can see in the upper left corner, I have controls for my flash. I have auto, on, and off. So I've turned it on so we can demonstrate it right now. So with it turned on, when I release the shutter, you can see it flashes the screen. You can also notice that it actually tints the color of the screen to adapt to the ambient lighting conditions, so it's a more flattering light. So if I go to this, you should see a fairly natural light. What's going on, guys? Mike here, the Detroit Borg, testing out the new FaceTime HD camera on the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus. So this is a 5 megapixel camera with an f2.2 aperture. Unfortunately, it's still recording in 720p, but it does look quite a bit better than the 1.2 megapixel camera we've had up to this point. So we have good exposure and detail here as I move around, and if I challenge the camera's exposure compensation, you can see it does a really good job. Apple has made some really big changes to the iSight camera hardware, and picture quality has improved notably from an already excellent camera system from previous generations. Images are extremely sharp with clear detail with no obvious signs of overprocessing, which can be common in high-resolution cameras with small sensors. Color and exposure are excellent, and the camera is able to focus quickly and accurately in most lighting conditions thanks to a higher number of focus pixels built into the new sensor. And with more resolution, images can be pinched and cropped without losing detail. Low light performance is also very impressive with excellent exposure and color reproduction without overprocessing or obvious color noise. The dual tone flash also does a pretty decent job creating a natural fill light. Images often look better after they've been taken, which is a testament to the image processing power of the A9 chip. 4K video has also made it to the iPhone, but you'll have to turn it on under the Photos and Camera settings. There's no way to turn this on directly from the camera app, but when it's turned on, you will see 4K indicated in the app in the lower right corner. 4K video on the iPhone 6s Plus looks fantastic thanks to optical image stabilization, software stabilization, and the insane processing power of the A9 chip, which really smooths this out. So handheld video comes out smooth and clear, and with the aid of focus pixels, the camera is able to find focus quickly and smoothly. And without a doubt, this is by far the best looking 4K camera on any phone today. Taking a look at our Geekbench scores, we're seeing some really impressive numbers here from this dual-core A9 processor clocked at 1.8 GHz. We should see 70% better CPU performance and 90% better GPU performance. Now, the 6s Plus does edge out the 6s just a bit, but they're very close. Now, indeed, we are seeing pretty big gains from the previous generation for both the 6 and the 6 Plus. Now, in terms of mobile gaming, you can't really do much better than the 6S right now with the A9 chip, so all games look fantastic on them, and certainly there's a lot more potential for games to be developed on this platform, so it'll be interesting to see how far mobile gaming goes with this new chip. Now, when it comes to battery life, there's no question the 6S Plus is where it's at. We see significantly better performance overall. In fact, in my benchmarking overnight, I saw more than an hour better performance out of the 6S Plus versus the 6S. And of course, in this test, the screen is set to maximum brightness, and I turned on airplane mode to kind of limit the variables. Now, of course, you can do much better in real-world conditions where the screen is not on all the time. And of course, you can manage the screen brightness and activate low power mode to get even better battery life. Now, one of the most impressive new features of the iPhone 6s is just how fast Touch ID 2.0 is, especially side by side. You can see just how quickly the phone unlocks when you tap the home key. It's so quick that you can basically just tap it briefly and it unlocks it right away. It's also very accurate. I have actually yet to see it fail reading a fingerprint at all, but side by side you can see there's a huge difference here in terms of performance, and it's definitely the best performing fingerprint sensor I've used to date. Now, it's not very often that we say the new iPhone is thicker and heavier than the previous generation, and that's what we get with the 6S and 6S Plus. So both the 6S Plus and the 6S are 0.2 millimeters thicker at 7.3 and 7.1 millimeters thick. They're also a tenth of a millimeter taller and wider, but that's really imperceptible at that size. More noticeable is the weight gain. So the 6S Plus has gained 20 grams, while the 6S has only gained 14 grams. Now, this is a little more noticeable with the 6S Plus, but neither phone feels particularly heavy. Ultimately, choosing between the 6S Plus and 6S comes down to a number of factors. The biggest one for me is battery life. Of course, the larger battery means the 6S Plus has significantly better battery life than the 6S. We also have a larger, more pixel-dense display on the 6S Plus with a higher resolution, so you have more screen real estate and some software features that can take advantage of it. The 6S Plus also adds optical image stabilization to an already fantastic camera system, which definitely gives it an edge. But of course, there's a lot to be said for the cheaper, lighter, and thinner 6S. Now, in the end, the 6S is probably the most significant S upgrade we've ever seen. It's basically an all-new phone. It just looks like the previous generation. So we have significant upgrades in terms of the A9 processor, wireless standards, as well as the camera system. Touch ID is now much faster and more accurate. And 3D Touch is a significant innovation in which the benefits become immediately clear as soon as you use it. So this should really change how we interact with touch displays going forward. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up to let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one.